Everything looks better when the ball goes through the basket, but everything looks worse, much, much worse when it doesn't go through the basket.
This is Tyler Hansbrough, and you're listening to Locked On Tar Heels.
You are Locked On Tar Heels, your daily podcast on the UNC Tar Heels. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hey there, what's up? It's Tuesday, February 10th, 2026. Welcome into this live postcast edition of the Locked On Tar Heels podcast, the only daily North Carolina show out there. I'm your host, Isaac Schade, and you're joining me at the place to get your Tar Heels content every single day. It's all part of the Locked On Network, the #1 sports podcast network out there. Thanks for making us your first listener watch, and I want to welcome in all our everydayers, all the members of the Locked On Tar Heels Discord, and our insiders as well. This episode's brought to you by Mazda, who puts the same drive into every detail. Wins define the moment, but putting in the work, that defines you. There's more to a Mazda because there's more to you. Oh boy. Oh boy. Carolina goes down to Miami, falls 75-66. That final score is not indicative of the closeness of the game. That kind of came with free throws and desperation late, but still it's a loss. Really more of a 4 to 5 point margin, etc. in that range. A couple things that means. Number one, the reverse jinx is officially over. It's dead and done and gone. That's what happens when a thing has run its course. You got to leave it behind. I'm sorry, guys. The Magic is toast, gone like a fart in the wind. Carolina falls to 19-5 overall, 7-4 in ACC play. The winning streak is over at 5 games. In the ACC standings, Carolina falls from a tie for 5th with Miami all the way down to 7th. We'll look at long-term ramifications later, but man, that's tough to lose a tiebreaker type game against a team that you're tied with, in the standings. So that's tough as well. Ken Palm, Carolina falls from 25th to 29th, 22nd in offensive efficiency, 47th. They actually move up a spot in defensive efficiency. Carolina loses an opportunity at another quad 1 victory. This would have been their 6th, but instead they fall to 5-5 in quad 1 games. It's another road loss. All the ACC games that they've lost are on the road. SMU, both California schools, and down to Miami, all the far reaches of the ACC. And all of that comes together to mean that, say it with me, this is a therapy session. Ooh, gross, woof. But we got to do it because misery loves company. So let's dive into this thing and unpack it. Big picture, nitty gritty, all of that. We'll get to Caleb very quickly because that's what I want to talk about. By the way, I jump right in on this, and so I have no idea what Coach Davis has said about if we know anything about Caleb's hand. So if you do, I'm going to pull up the comment section. If you know anything about Caleb as we're talking, please go ahead and drop that in the chat, and so I'll come catch that in a second. Here's the thing. Literally said it on today's show. My biggest worry, my biggest concern is, can Carolina flip the script, flip the page from Saturday night in the win against Duke, get their minds right, get emotionally ready, get physically ready, whatever it is. And I got to be honest, they said the right things, they did the right things, but it just wasn't there tonight. And whether that's they didn't know what it took, they didn't know, whatever it was. Like I had said prior to this game, Miami, in bad bubble shape. They're in Joe Lunardi's last 4 teams in coming into this game. They were going to be desperate for the biggest win of their season because they didn't have much coming in. And they got it. Carolina was not able to match the same level of desperation that Miami had. And man, that's tough. That's tough. And so the thing is, it was I do believe that they thought they were ready, but clearly they weren't. There wasn't a level high enough for Carolina to do it. Miami gets out to a 22-12 lead. Yes, Carolina came back to tie it, and then it stayed very close the rest of the game until Miami pushes away at the end as Carolina's in desperation mode. And look, this was always going to be a tough game, but I don't think Carolina was ready for how tough it would be. And it was an odd game. All sorts of statistical ways in terms of what Carolina did defensively, what they struggled to do offensively, and we'll get to all of that. And that's just frustrating, very frustrating. And I'm still looking to see nothing that I see right now about Caleb, but I'll keep keeping tabs on the chat there. But that's where we got to go next. Look, for everything with this game, short, great, whatever, frustrating, we'll get to it. The biggest concern is Caleb Wilson's left hand. Caleb leaves this game, first half, only 3 points for Caleb. And then second half was out for a good while and went to the locker room. Doug Halverson taped his hand, basically looked like a soft cast. I mean, they had it wrapped up pretty tight. His mom and sister had gone back. Eventually Caleb comes out, checks back into the game, scores a couple buckets, can't get him down the stretch in that spot down in that soft left corner where he'll often get it. It just wasn't there. And had he made a couple of those, Carolina's still in this game, potentially wins it, but just couldn't do it. Carolina could not execute down the stretch like they did on Saturday night. And so who knows? Like maybe it got cut bad and he needed some stitches. Maybe it's a wrist thing or a hand thing, whatever it is. We have to hope that this is not a long-term issue. Thankfully, he's right-handed, so that it's not a shooting hand thing, and clearly was able to go, but still looked like a little bit of a shell of himself. I mean, he did have that one play after he came back in, got a block, coast-to-coast rip and run off of that, and got a layup. A crazy, crazy play from Caleb, but it just didn't feel like he was fully Caleb in this game. And that's all right. And to go back to the letdown, the emotional letdown, whatever you want to say, let's remember, we talked about this after the win over Duke at home back in 2024. Carolina had lost to Georgia Tech before that, but then lost at home to Clemson right after that. This is a similar thing, right? You have a same type of letdown to that, and it's frustrating. Man, it's so frustrating. But the roller coaster ride up and down is tough. Now, again, as I said, Miami is a good team. They've got good pieces. We didn't really fully know how good they were because they haven't played this is by far their biggest win this season. And so it's tough to reckon with. Okay. From Caleb's left hand, let's go to some of the issues of this game because there were a bunch of them. And it almost like separated itself by half. In the first half, had Carolina simply held on to the basketball, they would have been in great shape. But they're just coughing it up left and right. 8 turnovers in totality in the first half. They cleaned it up really nice in the second half. Only 3 turnovers, so 11 for the game. But in the first half, Carolina, like that was the biggest area to me where I look at it and it's like, you guys aren't ready. You are not ready for the level of locked-in-ness necessary to win this game on the road against a desperate Miami team, knowing that you as a team are coming off a big emotional win. Now, it's a learning lesson, and you learn that. In the second half, the big issue, the big concern was offensive rebounds. Carolina allowed, I believe it was 8. Let me go back and look in real time here as we're talking. 8 offensive rebounds in the second half to Miami. Thankfully, they only got 7 points off those second chance opportunities, but still, Carolina, sure, they got 7, but how many did that cause Carolina to miss out on, right? That's part of that factor too. So those were the big issues in each half for me. But then where it starts to magnify itself, I said in the cold open, it's one of those things where everything looks worse when the ball doesn't go in. In the first half, Carolina's ability to knock down threes masked a lot of the issues that they had with turnovers and other things. In the second half, that was not to be. And so that didn't cover up the issues of the offensive rebounding or whatever. Why? Because in the first half, while Carolina shot really well, like 7 of 13 from 3 and shot well, what was their total field goal percentage in the first half? It was 55%. Yeah. So they go from 55% from the field, 53%, 53.8% in the first half from 3 to in the second half, total field goals, Carolina is 9 of 34, which is 26.5%, and 1 of 14 from 3, which is 7.1%. And I thought for the most part, Carolina was getting good looks for the right guys and just wasn't making them. Now, there was certainly some shots that I would like to have back or different shots, but a lot of them were just shots that I want in the rhythm of the offense, and they didn't fall. And so in the first half, all those threes masked the issues of the turnovers. In the second half, all the missed shots from everywhere didn't mask the issues of lack of the offensive rebounding. Well, there was another big, game-long issue for Carolina. Points in the paint allowed, just wide open. I want to talk about that. I want to take a look at some odd lineups Carolina was using, and Seth Trimble wasn't able to do much offensively in this game. So a lot more to get to coming up here in just a second. Right after I tell you about Mazda, this is Mazda's moving the game forward moment. For those who show there's more to the score than what's on screen. The truth of the matter right now is that what Carolina wants to move forward is away from Miami. Like, yeah, you got to watch the tape and you got to unpack this. But moving the game forward right now, what that looks like for Carolina is learning how to figure out what went wrong in this game. Get your mind right, get back to practice, fix it, and then move on. Literally move the game forward to Pittsburgh on Saturday. Should be an opportunity to reset. It's Carolina's last quad 3 opportunity of the season. And so that's what we're looking for, is Carolina to get back to it in that way. It's moments like these that remind us of what it really takes to raise the bar. It's that extra work off the court, dialing in every detail, giving it that extra fire, that grit, and that I never quit mentality. Mazda puts that same passion into every model. Highlights make the real. What it took to get there is what makes it count. So Mazda, there's more to a Mazda because there's more to you. All right, pulling up the box score for those of you who are watching in case you want to check that out. So I talked, first half issue was the turnovers. Second half issue was the offensive rebounds surrendered. A full game issue was Carolina's inability to defend well. Second half against Duke, Carolina did much better. They stayed in front of their man, things of that nature. Against Miami, Carolina really, really struggled in this regard. Gave up 46 points in the paint to the Canes. Carolina scored 28. And it wasn't like Miami went batty in one half and then cooled off in the other. No, 26 points in the paint in the first half, 20 points in the paint in the second half. And I worried about it, right? Like we talked about it coming into this game. Carolina has the height in the front court, but Miami has the heft in terms of both Malik Renew at the 4 and Ernest Uday at the 5. And I thought Carolina had trouble controlling them. They had some trouble staying in front of Shelton Henderson at the 3. And so there was all of that sort of issue. They didn't, I was worried about Trey Donaldson, another guard who can go off at times. They surrendered 14 points to him, but he needed 16 shots to get there. So in that regard, felt like Carolina was in good shape. Didn't allow too much to him. But Ernest Uday, 7 of 8 for 15 points. Malik Renew, 5 of 11 for 16 points. And it's like allowed double doubles to both of those guys. Renew was 16 and 10, Uday 15 and 10. That's not going to cut it, man. But you see, if there are, and thankfully in this day and age of college basketball, there's not a ton of teams that have all that heft and size advantage in that regard. DJ Burns isn't walking out on the floor every night from NC State. You're not going to face an Uday every night, but you got to figure out Carolina's front court, how to contend with that, how to deal with it and push back against it, because you cannot be surrendering 46 points in the paint with this vaunted Carolina front court that everyone talks about how good they are and all of that. You wouldn't allow 46 points in the paint. Certainly disappointing showing from Carolina. And if you win a game like this, it's like, wow, how about Carolina stealing a game that they never led until 0.4 of a second left? Second game in a row, Carolina literally never led this game. And it was odd. I haven't had time yet to go back and count it. Maybe I'll do that ahead of our Wednesday show, which I think, by the way, we're going to record live Wednesday morning. So be on the lookout for that. But how many times in this game, right? We talked about Carolina getting down by 10 and then coming all the way back to tie it at 37, tied it again in the second half at 51. But in between and around all that, how many different shots did Carolina take that would have either tied the game or taken the lead that just didn't go in? that looked like good. It's like, oh, okay. Yeah. No, it didn't fall. Dang. And I mean, literally, they tied the game at 51. I think they never led. I know that. I think that was the only tie in the second half. And I'm not exaggerating. I bet Carolina had at least 10 different shots in this game that, had it gone in, the game is either tied or the Tar Heels are in the lead. And you know, sometimes in games like that, you felt this as much as what I'm talking about here. When that kind of thing happens, it just feels like there's this barrier that you cannot claw past, no matter how much you drive and try to get it. It's just not there. This felt like one of those moments that there was just a glass ceiling that Carolina could not smash through. And it was odd and weird. They couldn't get over the hump, but it was right there until it wasn't in the end. Part of that is Carolina, some odd lineups, you know, throughout the game. For example, Carolina's down 6, probably 2 minutes to go. I can't remember how much it is. Here's the 5 players that are in the game. Like the time was low enough. Carolina had to have a 3 at this moment. And the 5 that were in the game: Seth Trimble, Jarin Stevenson, Jaden Young, Jonathan Powell, and Henri Veesaar. And I know Henry's your best 3-point shooter. He eventually, that's the possession where he had to settle for that deep 3. But it's like, where is Bogey in that moment? Where is Derek Dixon? Where is Kyan Evans? And I know those guys weren't, like, Derek Dixon had a tough game, unfortunately. But Bogey had hit a couple threes in the first half. Kyan Evans had hit a couple threes in the first half. And so it's like, in a moment where you need that, where are they? And I know everything was thrown out of whack because Caleb's trying to figure out the whole thing with his hand. But man, the rotations just were strange rotations. And I haven't gone back to look at all the player combinations, but felt like Zayden High got more time than he usually does. Let's look. Zayden High, played 7 minutes of this game, which is more for him. 20 minutes, just 12 for Luka. Luka in the first half, felt like he probably played most of that in the first half. Luka Bogovats, 9. Yeah, so it means he played 3 minutes in the second half. You had, for the game, Jaden Young played 5. Zayden played 3. 11 for Kyan Evans. Let's see how much of that was in the first half. 8. So 3 minutes each for Kyan Evans and Luka in the second half. Derek Dixon, first half, played 12 minutes. Played 8 in the second half. That's more than I guessed he would. It felt like he was just kind of struggling and got played off some. So straight, just weird game for Carolina. And I think part of that is, as you watched it, you felt this as well. Offensively, Carolina was never able to get into any sort of rhythm. And I think part of that, and I mentioned this on yesterday's show, credit to Miami coach Jay Lucas. He had said one of the things that we're going to do, like he said this yesterday for God and all the world to hear in a press conference. It wasn't some military secret that they rolled out at game time. He said, we're going to have to switch defenses to keep Carolina off guard, keep them guessing, trying to diagnose what we're doing defensively. And in the first half, as Carolina was hitting those threes, it kind of hid some of that. But in the second half, Carolina just, no, it wasn't there, man. It was bad. And so kudos to Miami for their superior effort and intensity. And it's not like Carolina didn't try. Again, I just don't think they were as locked in as they thought they were. And I don't think they were as desperate as they needed to be as Miami was. And that's tough. Part of that is Seth kind of had a tough game here. 4 points all at the free throw line, 0 of 5 from the field, 0 of 3 from 3. Did have 3 assists, no turnovers. You love that. Like, he's sharing, distributing. Just 1 rebound, though. And that's another area. We talked about the offensive rebounds. Carolina loses the rebounding battle again, 41-35 to Miami. That's tough. Hey, silver lining. Can we take a look at the silver lining? 4th straight game, Carolina's been over 70% from the free throw line. Shot 80%. But only took 10 of them. And that's disappointing. Funny thing, wait, is this the exact same? So only 2 players got to the free throw line. Seth was 4 of 4, Caleb Wilson 4 of 6. If memory serves, Carolina took 14 free throws Saturday, and I think they were all Trimble and Wilson as well, right? But it was flipped. It was like similar thing. Caleb missed, or was it Seth that missed? Seth missed 3, and Caleb was 6 of 6. That's what it was. Seth was 5 of 8. Caleb was 6 of 6. I'm almost positive that's what it was. Kind of flipped tonight, but it was just those two guys. You need other dudes getting to the rim. Well, I don't weird stuff there. So you guys, all in all, very disappointing game. So what does it mean going forward? Look, sometimes it's going to happen, right? You go on the road, you lose. Carolina had won 2 straight on the road. Virginia and Georgia Tech dropped this one. And so, as I said, now you're down into 7th place in the ACC. Still plenty of time to work your way back. You've played now, 11 conference games. So you've got 7 remaining. Carolina's 7-4, but you've still got several road trips you got to take. You got to go to NC State a week from tonight. Then you got to go to Syracuse that next Saturday. Then you're home for Louisville. You're actually home for your next 3, Louisville, Virginia Tech, Clemson. Then you got to go to Duke. And so Carolina's got multiple tough games left. Like the 3 that really stand out, NC State, Louisville, actually 4 that stand out, NC State, Louisville, Clemson, Duke. Plus you got to go on the road to Syracuse. So got to figure some things out. Got to figure out what's up with Caleb's hand. And man, this is a super disappointing result, and I think we all recognize the possibility of the reality of it because you're on the road against, again, a tough, desperate Miami team. But man, it's still, that doesn't mean it doesn't hurt, right? Moments like this are difficult to contend with. And that's frustrating, I know, for all of us, because you feel like you're riding some momentum. You've just moved up into a 4 spot in a lot of bracketology, and now you've lost all of that. And now everyone's like, yep, they are who we thought they were. Up and down roller coaster. The only consistency with Carolina is inconsistency. And I think we look at that and say it is what it is. But again, there's a lot of opportunity in front of Carolina, and they got to figure out how to get to that. Now, I see a lot of comments over from you guys. I want to get to those, see what you have to say about this game, what your thoughts on it were, questions, comments, etc. We'll get to that in just a second. Right after I tell you about Wayfair. Y'all, the new year is here, and it's the perfect time to reset your routine and refresh your space. If you're spending more time at home right now, you might as well love and look how it feels because you're stuck inside in the snow anyway. That's why you should turn to Wayfair, a one-stop shop for getting your home back on track. They've got bedding and mattresses, storage solutions, every room, and it's the easy and best way to start your year brand new. Wayfair has everything you need, all in one place. So maybe you're upgrading your living room, you're organizing your space, upgrading your work from home setup. Hello, I need to do some of that. Wayfair's got a huge selection, making it easy to find exactly what you need. We recently repainted our living room, for example, and man, Wayfair is the perfect place to go get some new accent pillows, some new frames, some new furniture, whatever it is that just helps make that come to life. Man, Wayfair has exactly that to pull it all together. Their shopping is easy, delivery is smooth, and everything arrives exactly as you expected, which honestly makes it so helpful to get right back into that routine. So get organized, refreshed, and back on track this new year for way less. Head to wayfair.com right now to shop all things home. That's wayfair.com. Wayfair, every style, every home. All right, you guys, let's scroll up to the top of the chat and see what we got going on. Alan asks, hey, what's going on with Veesaar this game? That's a great question. Let me look at his final numbers here. Veesaar, 11 points, 5 of 12 from the field, 1 of 4 from 3, 6 boards, 2 assists, no turnovers, and a steal in 33 minutes. Interestingly enough, how about this? In plus minus, Caleb was the lowest at minus 15. Henry second lowest at minus 10. And I think it goes back to what I was talking about earlier here is that Miami's front court was hefty. They were persistent. They had some weight to throw around. It caused, there was a couple shots at the rim that Veesaar usually finishes that he didn't. Was he bothered by the Miami, like getting moved off the block a little bit, having multiple guys coming at him that he might not usually be used to? And, ultimately, as I'm going to completely agree with what Joseph Alexander here says, a couple comments down, that yes, Carolina still had their usual blend of assist to turnover, assist ratio in terms of assists to made field goals being really good, 16 out of 25. That's over 60%. But right, 16 divided by 25. What's up, calculator? Yeah, 64%. So that is good. However, the offensive rhythm, just again, it wasn't there. It was off all game. And so Joseph says too much hero ball, not enough ball moon. Gotta get that figured out and do it. The backcourt, DJ Marie says Dixon shot 1 of 9, did not help, got to knock down open shots. It was a tough night for the starting backcourt in totality. Dixon 1 of 9, Seth 0 of 5, as I said earlier. So that's 1 of 14 for those two guys. For Dixon, did a great job with assists, 4 of them, but also had 4 turnovers, kind of uncharacteristic for him there. So had 4 of Carolina's 11 turnovers in totality. How many of those were, and he had 2 each half, so split between the full game for Dixon. So that's tough, man. Need more out of the backcourt. That's the issue, especially on a night where Caleb is having one of his worst nights as a Tar Heel from a scoring standpoint. Again, clearly he was injured, and that's a major concern going forward, right? And so we're going to have to reckon with that as we learn more. Let's go back to Alan, who says, say goodbye to ACC regular season title chances. Yeah, I think if you wanted, look, Duke's not going to lose 4 games in the ACC. It's just not. They do have a tough schedule, but like they don't even play Miami. You know, Carolina's lone team, they don't play as BC. Duke doesn't play Miami, which makes no sense because Jay Lucas is a former Duke assistant. Like how did you miss that opportunity, ACC? That makes no sense to me. And so, yeah, I just don't. Carolina would have had a shot at it had they won this game, because let's say Carolina wins at Durham. If Duke loses one other, you're tied for the ACC lead, depending on what else Carolina does and what else other teams do. But then you have the tiebreaker against Duke. But now with it getting to 4 losses, and it was still a long shot, but Carolina could have gone on a run, and they still can't. 7 games left in the ACC. So here's the thing that we struggle with as the observers, that it's easier internally to deal with, is for us, the sky is falling anytime, it's like, oh my goodness, what's going on, and weeping and gnashing of teeth and everything is wrong. And internally they say, all right, what do we got to do better? How do we get back to the drawing board and fix all that? So there's that. Michael Riggs says, court storming kind of weird. We're not even a top 10 team or a rival. Fine them. Yeah, it's kind of weird, which, by the way, I feel like everybody and their brother has been trying to dunk on our court storm from Saturday night. To me, I thought it made a ton of sense contextually. Yes, I know it's Duke. It's your rival, and you're Carolina, and you're proud. But think of the context of that game. With everything that had gone on, with Seth being the one to do it, the immediate emotion of, holy cow, we weren't going to win this game, and now suddenly we have. We've never let all of that. Like, it made a ton of sense to me. But you got like after Kansas beat Arizona last night, you had former Kansas players trying to be like, oh, you see us, we didn't court storm, and NC State trying to get all pissy about it. And it's like, you guys just lost to Louisville by 41 points tonight. Maybe you should shut up. Like, it doesn't make any sense to me. But and I get, like, contextually, I get it for Miami because it's the first ranked win of the Jay Lucas era. But it still is like you beat Duke in that moment. Absolutely. And I think, hey, that's a sign of respect to Carolina. So in that regard, I'll take it. But man, it's got to be better for Carolina. And so there is that. A lot of disappointment, a lot of frustration with all this. I'm not seeing a ton more. And so I'm sure there is more, but I don't want to just sit here and blah, 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 and look and try to find things. And so we're going to move on. And again, we'll wait to see and hear more about Caleb's wrist and what's going on there. All right, you guys, thanks for being with me. Disappointing night, obviously, right? Like that's where we're at with it, and got to pick it up, got to get back, got to figure out what's next. And what's next specifically is a home matchup with Pitt. You don't want to mess around with that because all your losses right now are quad 1. That would be quad 3. Aside from the 5 quad 1 wins, one of the biggest feathers in Carolina's hat is that all their losses, even though there's 5 of them, are in quad 1. And so that's good. But you can't turn around and give away one of the feathers in your cap. Like Gonzaga just lost to Portland. They're terrible. And so that's what you can't do. All right, so we'll be right back at it tomorrow. As I said, I think we're going to go live in the morning for Wednesday's show. On Thursday's show, Josh Marlowe is going to join me. I'm sure we will be, who knows what, that's going to be great. On Friday's show, Coach Rob's going to join me to get ready for Pitt, and so that'll be great to have both those fellas on, as always. If you've not subscribed to the show on video and audio, do it now so you don't miss a second of Locked On Tar Heels. If you haven't joined the Everydayers Club, that link is in the show notes. It's easy to go find that. We'd love to have you go even deeper with our show. If you haven't joined our Locked On Tar Heels Discord, that link is in the show notes as well. Y'all, even on a tough day like this, it is always a great day to be a Tar Heel. We'll talk again on Wednesday, but until then, peace.